Hello, everyone. If you feel threatened, if you feel that the world is going into annihilation, some sort of disintegration, if you feel that mankind has reached a turning point, a bifurcation point, and you are afraid, especially when you live in the United States and you can see how your political system is disintegrating and your food supply is being threatened and gasoline is up I mean the prices are really high and then so on. So if you feel that your own personal life is just seemingly or validly disintegrating, then you are a very keen observer of what is going on. And I think that in this year, this solar year, or this particular civil year, as when we look at the astrological movements and the astrological placements, nothing really important is happening. So at least it looks like. But if you work with the nodal axis, a lot of the placements, important placements, are linked to them. And as you know, in karmic astrology, the south node denotes your karmic experiences, and the north node is your chosen destiny, your karmic intent for this life. So whenever these 2 points are activated, and at the moment they are quite activated because they are forming a karmic cage, and actually a double karmic cage. I'm going to show you in a minute. So if at any moment in time these are being activated, it usually denotes a space-time moment when your own personal decisions will amplify whatever is happening to you, and there's no going back. And if you look around in the world, this is exactly what's happening. So let's take a look at the space-time moment. And I have chosen April 27th because the moon is joining Jupiter, Neptune, and also Venus. Actually, Venus is coming up to the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. Jupiter is already separating. The conjunction was exact on April 12th. But they are still there, so it's still quite tight. And Venus is coming up to them, and the moon is crossing around midday, European or universal time. The moon is crossing over the triple conjunction, highlighting and illuminating it, giving it psychic energy. Now, Jupiter-Neptune conjunctions occur every 13 years. I posted a video about this right around when this happened. I think I posted it on the 11th of April, so you can go back and take a look at it if you want to understand it. But practically, here are two quite beneficial planets at the first look. And actually, when I looked at this year's main placements, I was happy to see at least the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, because I said that at least we have one good energy pattern. But then, of course, I keep forgetting that in the mundane sense, and not just in the mundane sense, it's also our own reality as well, our own physical level, our own human level. Jupiter enlarges everything it touches, the bad stuff as well. And Neptune, if you treat it in the real sense, in the good sense, it's a higher dimensional planet, so it works perfectly on a higher dimensional energy, and then it brings insight, enlightenment, transcendence, universal love. But if you drag it down to the third dimension, it works as deception, pink fog, drugs, alcohol, all sorts of deceptive substances, and Jupiter enlarges it. And this is exactly what you can see. I mean, if you look at pictures of the war, look at the photo where Ursula von Leyen is standing in front of those body bags, or allegedly body bags. You see black bags, and if these were physical bodies, dead bodies, then the picture is horrifying. But look at the faces and imagine the smell. Do you think that any person in their right mind could actually bear the smell of those bodies, of those dead bodies, if they were dead bodies? just ask yourself the question, okay? Don't believe what mainstream media shows you. Please question everything and research everything, okay? Because it's not what it looks like, and it's not what mainstream media and politicians want us to believe. And yes, we are at a crossroads, and the space-time moment actually tells us the story. So we have a complex planetary picture around 23, 26 degrees of the signs. I usually give it a tighter orb. Whenever I work with configurations, I allow a 2-degree orb for the planets and asteroids and centaurs, and only a 1.5-degree orb when the nodal axis or the ascendant, the midheaven are involved, because they are non-radiating physical bodies. They are just points in time, calculated points. But now I just allowed it a little bit more, because actually you see quite a few interesting things cropping up here. The main feature is still the karmic cage involving Saturn, and then dark moon Lilith, which denotes accepting the curse upon you. You can go to my Lilith videos, and I explain what the second Lilith, the dark moon Lilith, means. Actually, it forms now, this is what closes the energy pattern here, and there is a double karmic cage, actually a fixed ground cross. Saturn, the lord of karma, the dark moon Lilith, accepting the curse, and the crossroads between the past, so the south node, and the future, the north node, or intent and karma. You can also look at it this way. And joining them, you still have Aries, of course, in Aries at 24 degrees. You have Ceres in Gemini, which symbolizes intellectual food, intellectual nurturing. And of course, the whole is creating a very interesting swirl of energy. And just to let you know why we need this type of intellectual nurturing expressed by Ceres in Gemini, today's news is that the WHO wants some sort of power over the nations. It wants executive power by which, whenever there is a pandemic threatening the whole world, they want to have access to unlimited power to be able to tell what to do. So it's going to be no longer the individual nation's competence to decide what their people need, what their special circumstances allow or don't allow. It will be the WHO who tells you that you need to have mandatory vaccination, you need to have mandatory lockdowns, and so on. Just imagine, this is a brave new world. And Ceres here tells us, please research everything. Please go back to what you already knew. So the most frightening thing of today is in ideology that we are questioning things we knew for centuries, for millennia. Okay, and we are still questioning it because cretins are leading us. Okay, let's take a look at this conjunction and also what you can see in the sky around in the small hours. This means 5 a.m. London time, but actually I think it's probably earlier. This is what you see. You can see 5 visible planets in the morning sky. Make sure that you are looking out at least 1 hour before sunrise, because you won't see really anything, because it's a gray light, and wherever we have what we call nautical darkness or light, that's when you see or don't see these planets. So the 5 planets are Saturn, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, and the Moon. And if you look at the sky, actually you won't exactly see here. There's a balsamic moon phase, which means that you have a very tiny sliver of the moon, but it gives you enough light. So actually it would be better to see everything in the dark. And as you can notice in the regular chart, Bill, the moon is crossing over this. First Venus in the small hours, and then as the day continues around, sometime in the afternoon, it's going to cross Jupiter as well, around 8 hours later, something like that. So these are the 5 visible planets that you can observe. But here's the planetarium picture, which actually shows you that this conjunction is there in the longitude within 1 degree, applying, of course, but not in the declinations. And take a look. This is the celestial equator, okay? And you have these planets in Aquarius and Pisces in the signs. I'm not talking about the constellations, because here you can see the 3 brightest stars of the constellation Aquarius. Sadal Melek is the Alpha, Sadal Su the Beta, and Sadal Bia is the 3rd. I think it's Gamma. And you can also see Deneb Algadi, which is exactly on, Saturn is exactly on Deneb Algadi. And since Deneb Algadi is actually, I think, the Delta, so it's the 4th brightest star in the constellation Capricorn. So let's take a look at the declinations. As you can see, the Moon-Venus conjunction is actually an alignment, really, because it is conjunct in the longitude, but as you can see, the Moon is much more to the south than Venus. Venus is around 3 degrees, Jupiter around 2 degrees, actually 3.5 degrees is Venus, and the Moon at that moment is at 7 degrees to the south. So everything is on the south celestial hemisphere. And then Saturn is at 14 degrees 27, so 14.5. By the way, this portion is about, so from the celestial equator to this thin yellow line, that's 10 degrees. So that's 20 degrees, and then you can see that Saturn is in the middle. So actually, Venus and Jupiter are kind of aligned in a way, but it's a 1.5 degree discrepancy. And then the Moon and Mars are also kind of aligned, but Mars is again almost at 10 degrees in the declination, and Saturn is really quite far away from everything. Here, I left here the latitude and the travel and the right ascension as well. You can take a look at it. At the moment, the Moon is a little bit faster than average, because the average Moon travel is about 12 to 13 degrees. It's a tiny bit faster than average. Now let's take a look at the transcendental celestial objects that are accompanying this complex planetary picture. On Saturn, you have asteroid Hannibal. Again, the color coding is as usual. You have the asteroids in purple, the TNOs, centaurs, all sorts of trans-Neptunians in blue, and the stars are in red. And I'm giving you the constellation, also whether it's the Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, or Epsilon. Okay, within a constellation, we give Alpha to the brightest star within the constellation. The second one is Beta, the third one is Gamma, the fourth one is Delta, the fifth one is Epsilon. But these are relative brightnesses. So it's not an absolute brightness. Absolute brightness is measured by magnitude, and magnitude is given to you in numbers, and the smaller the number, the brighter the star. By the naked eye, you are able to observe under perfect conditions stars with 5th or 6th magnitude maximum. The 7th magnitude star cannot be observed by the naked eye at all. So the higher the number, the dimmer the star. And so on Saturn, you have Hannibal, who was a general who was able to cross the Alps with his people. So it's bright. It's actually bright ideas. Someone who is good at leading an army, and fighting spirit and ingeniousness are linked to Hannibal. And two bright stars, Deneb Algadi, Delta Capricornus, and Sada Sud, which is the beta star of Aquarius, are accompanying Saturn. On Venus, so with this fourfold conjunction, we are going to look at very separately. As you know, I work with very, very tight orbs. I give only 1 degree for asteroids and centaurs, and half a degree to 1 degree for fixed stars. It depends. These are all bright stars, so I'm willing to give it 1 degree, give them 1 degree. On Venus, you have Maka, Alpha Pegasus, bright ideas jumping out of your head. On Neptune, you have Okiro, the daughter of Chariklo and Chiron, who inherited the talents from both parents. But the problem is, so she's a seer and oracle, but she's blurting out stuff that she's not supposed to, and the fates are constantly punishing her. And in order to avoid further punishment, she simply transforms herself into a horse and forgets to talk, and doesn't want to accept her gift. And it usually, it's karmic wounds where you were unable to use your gifts, your talents, and you had to hide them because otherwise you would have been persecuted. And on Neptune, you also have Thalia and Cybele. Cybele is a very strong feminine goddess, so it's a strong personification of strong feminine. And Thalia is the muse of playwrights. So that's what you see. There's a screen on stage, and Neptune. So there's a double camouflage here going on. On Jupiter, on the other hand, you have Borasisi and Zeus. Now, Zeus is Jupiter, so you have the two strong chief gods, and Borasisi is the negative creativity, when you want to usurp your powers and you want to push your will upon others. So it's the bad monarch, so to speak. That's exactly what you see. That's exactly what's happening. On Aries, you have Memnosune and Gutenberg. Gutenberg was the inventor of press, so we can thank him for books. I love books. I gobble books all the time. As you can see, I have a number of ones. I still don't have any electronic form of this. I like the paper version of it. And what's interesting, as much as we must be grateful to Gutenberg, think about it. The moment the press was there, bad stuff, lies, and all sorts of negative things were also being printed. So it's a blessing in disguise, so to speak. And Memnosune shows us that we need to remember. We need to go back to basics, and we need to remember what we already knew, what we knew for millennium. Otherwise, Aries is going to disrupt everything. On the South Node, you have Adonis, the beautiful youth that both Persephone and Aphrodite are in love with, and so it's a crush, so to speak. And then on the North Node, you have Pelion, the mountain of the centaurs. So it represents the mountain of life that you need to conquer, you need to climb. And you have 3 asteroids: Agamemnon, the fighter; Zero, creation out of nothing; and Hecate, the dark moon goddess. And on Ceres, you have a number of bright stars. Also, it's important that, I forgot to put this into blue, but anyhow, there's Bienor, which is another shining figure. So it's another centaur that represents the energy of I want to shine, I want to be creative, and sometimes I use negative energy for that. But Ceres is at the degree, which is a very important degree. This Gemini 22, 24, even 20 to 24 degrees. You have a number of bright stars, bright and important stars. These are everywhere in the night sky, so it's not they're aligned, on an astrological degree, but these are different constellations and various constellations. What is important here is Mintaka and Al-Nilam, the two out of the three belt stars, two of them. The belt stars are on the celestial equator, and they denote celestial balance, divine harmony. And Al-Nat is Beta Taurus. When you look at a constellation, the Alpha star is usually the strongest. It's the most beneficial. It carries luck and happiness and success. And the Beta star is a shadow star of that. It usually shows you how you can operate from the shadow, or how you need to put yourself into the background in order to succeed. And that's Al-Nat also. And of course, the whole constellation Taurus denotes creativity. Okay, the spring energy when everything is solidifying, and growth and positive energies are there at your disposal. Capella is Alpha Auriga. It's a very bright star. It's 0.2, and Capella was the nymph who raised Zeus until he grew to adulthood and could go back to his father and actually free his sisters and brothers. And I think I explained everything. Yeah, Vacht, sorry. There's Vacht, which is Alpha Columba, so the celestial dove, and it usually is linked to making peace. And on dark moonlit, you also have Xerxes, which is another fighter, another general, another leader on the dark moon, which is the curse. So it's an important and interesting space-time moment. A lot depends on us. A lot depends on the individual, what you are going to believe, how you are going to decide. It's so interesting to me that I'm having these discussions on Facebook. I'm trying not to be on Facebook because it's just negative energy, and I really spend very, very little time there. But to my amazement, when I say something about Hungary, you know that I live in Hungary, and when I say something what is happening here, I'm invariably given a view that is skewed by the mainstream media, how we are anti-democratic and there's no freedom here and stupid things. And let me tell you something, our press is much freer than anyone in the US or anywhere else. We can say whatever we want. We don't have cancel culture. We don't have woke idiocy. We can discuss stuff openly and intellectually. And so it's very sad to me to see how the West loses its mind, and idiotic ideologies are replacing common sense. Don't allow it. It depends on you as well. Try to save the world by saving yourself, by acting as a vehicle for common sense. That is the message of today's energy patterns. And thank you for listening. Bye-bye.